It's Friday, October 3rd, 2025. On Fridays, we've got a Friday 5-pack as well as Ask or Tell Me Anything. That's coming up next on the AM Update. Thanks for making it through another week on the AM Update with me. I appreciate each and every one of you for listening. As always, if it comes to your mind, would you mind giving me a 5-star review on the podcast platform of your choice, whether that's iTunes or Spotify? All of your reviews, not the 1-star or 2-star or 3-star or even 4 stars, but just the 5-star reviews. Those are appreciated very much. Thank you very much. I want to remind you as well, on the regular editions of the AM Update, you hear those programmatic ads that are all over the place, not on the Monday and Thursdays with our friends at Conduit Clothing Company that we've teamed up with, but the other days of the week. If you want to get rid of those types of ads, become a premium subscriber on Apple Podcasts to the AM Update. Those will wipe out all of those annoying ads, not the ones I do, but the annoying ads, the programmatic ads is what they call them in the industry. $5 a month. You can wipe all of those out. Let's get on with it. Our Friday 5-pack, of course. The topic of the week is the government shutdown. President Trump spoke with One America News yesterday about what the Democrats are trying to demand.
It's politics, and they're doing things and asking for things that you wouldn't want, and most people that are sane wouldn't want, and patriots wouldn't want. They want illegal aliens to get taken care of with health care. And it's not, look, I have a bigger heart than they do, but it's not even that. Everybody in the world is going to enter our country and say, give us free health care, give us this, give us that. It's going to ruin all of the things that we have, all of the plans that we have. Obamacare was never any good, but it subsists. It's there. And everything will be destroyed because no country has enough money to take care of that. So they want the illegals. They refuse to get away with open borders. They want to do open borders. If they ever got in, they'll open up the borders. We have closed borders now. You only come into our country legally. But they would open up the borders in 2 minutes, and you understand it better than anybody because you've covered it so well.
There is President Trump on OAN directly linking the Democrats' efforts to re-up free, quote-unquote free, health care for illegal aliens. And he's absolutely right to link that there to immigration, because if you're not just going to import the third world in order to get chattel slavery labor, cheap labor, you're importing the third world to replace those who are actually in this country, and you do that through inducements, one of which would be free, quote-unquote, health care. Meanwhile, Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader, says he's confident President Trump is going to buckle.
Dynamic, and given the way that the president has been tweeting memes about you, has been, in your words and the words of Democrats, already dismantling health care, what makes you think that he will negotiate anything? What makes you think that he and Republicans will cave to you?
Public sentiment. At the end of the day, the public knows that Donald Trump and Republicans have shut the federal government down.
So there's Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Leader, saying public sentiment. We'll see. We'll see if he's right. But maintaining again that it's Republicans, not the Democrats, wanting free health care for illegals who are shutting the government down. On that note, blast from the past that's been passed around this week. That MSNBC Democrat primary debate, I believe it was back in 2020, featuring this question.
Raise your hand if your government plan would provide coverage for undocumented immigrants.
Every single one of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 candidates raises their hand. Yes, my government-funded plan for health care would indeed include funding for illegal aliens. Evil stuff. Across the pond we go, speaking of evil. The United Kingdom struck again by horrific violence on Thursday in an apparent anti-Semitic attack. Sky News reported that 2 people were killed and 4 others were injured in a car and stabbing attack at Heaton Park Hebrew Congregation Synagogue in Manchester, England. A man reportedly slammed his car into passerby before exiting the vehicle and attacking people with a knife. According to Sky News, the suspect was shot dead within 7 minutes of the first 999. That's their version of 911 call to Manchester police. Police were initially unable to confirm the suspect's death due to safety issues over suspicious items on his person. The attacker was reportedly wearing what police thought was an explosive device. Police later deployed a bomb disposal robot to dispose of the suspected explosives, and a bang was reportedly heard at the scene. Officials later confirmed the name of the attacker. You're never going to believe this. You're never going to believe this in a million years. The name of the attacker, his first name is Jihad. Jihad al-Shami is the Manchester anti-Semitic attacker at that Jewish synagogue. Jihad literally means the struggle against enemies of Islam. I told you you wouldn't believe that. Back at home, more dispatches from Iowa. This case gets crazier and crazier. The former Iowa school district superintendent, detained by immigration authorities last week, has been taken into custody by the Justice Department. Ian Andre Roberts, who led Des Moines Public Schools, was no longer in the custody of the Woodbury County Jail in Sioux City, about 150 miles north of Des Moines. Roberts was taken into federal custody on an arrest warrant and made his first court appearance. According to the Justice Department, he's charged with being unlawfully present in the United States while possessing firearms. Federal prosecutors said the 54-year-old Roberts was found with 4 firearms on September 26th while living in the country illegally. He will remain detained in federal custody pending further proceedings. We're also learning that he had multiple baby mamas, 5 baby mamas. I think we talked about this as well. I think 6 kids in multiple states, too. He's facing deportation back to Guyana. Still cannot believe that story. I cannot get out of my mind sitting, waiting around for the bathrooms at the Omaha Zoo last Friday, scrolling on X, because that's what I do, unfortunately, and saw this story, and it just could not stop laughing. The most on-brand thing for the Des Moines Public School District I can think of. Story number 4 on our Friday 5-pack. I noted this on X yesterday, that I recall last year, I think it was late last year in the lead up to the election, that President Trump, in a Truth Social post, publicly distanced himself and basically disavowed Project 2025 from the Heritage Foundation. Now, there's some behind-the-scenes inside baseball stuff on kind of the Trump camp's reasons for why they did that. And there are multifaceted reasons, some of which were legitimate. But I remember being relatively despondent and blackpilling, because basically Project 2025 is a blueprint for saving the country, at least from the federal level, at least from a political level. And there was President Trump disavowing Project 2025. Well, fast forward to October of this year, he's advertising he's meeting with Russ Vought, calling him one of the famed architects of Project 2025. I did not trust the plan. I'm a plan truster now. Well, there's always stuff like this, too. The FDA yesterday approved a generic form of the baby-killing pill mifepristone. Now, the backlash to this was fierce. So much so, in fact, that HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. issued this following memo yesterday as well, and said the Biden administration removed mifepristone's in-person dispensing rule without studying the safety risks. We are filling that gap. Last month, I joined Dr. Marty Makary at the FDA in writing to state attorneys general, pledging a thorough review, including real-world outcomes on the safety of this drug. Recent studies already point to serious risks when mifepristone is used without proper medical oversight. The FDA only approved a second generic mifepristone tablet because federal law requires approval when an application proves the generic is identical to the brand name drug. So there's some form of reassurance from Robert F. Kennedy Jr. that they are still looking into the safety risks, quote unquote, with this drug. Here's the safety risk with mifepristone. Yes, it's unsafe for mothers, but it's always deadly to the unborn child. That's our problem with it. It's a baby-killing facility in your mailbox. That's the problem with it. I hope they understand that over there at the FDA and HHS. We shall see. Well, Greta Thunberg, back on another skiff to Palestine. She was detained yet again by Israeli authorities.
My name is Greta Thunberg. I'm a citizen of Sweden. If you are watching this video, I have been abducted and taken against my will by Israeli forces. Our humanitarian mission was non-violent and abiding by international law. Please tell my government to demand my and the others' immediate release.
There's Greta Thunberg. I feel like it's Groundhog Day. maybe cruise to Palestine Day, which doesn't exist. Because she did this before. She did this earlier this year. Treated, as was well documented by the Israelis, treated very humanely. What she's trying to do, no one knows. The global warming grift starting to dry up. So now sailing to Palestine, that's her new grift. And she's doing it again. She was detained by Israeli authorities yet again. So see you in another few months, Greta, I guess. When we come back, it'll be another edition of Ask or Tell Me Anything. Can't wait to hear from you. It's coming up next. Back for one final segment this week on the AM Update. Ask or Tell Me Anything. You can ask me any question you want. Tell me any news story you think needs covered on the AM Update. We'll start with Griffin. What else do you think Trump and Hegseth told the generals in private, if anything? Or what do you think would have been good to tell them? Here's what I think would have been good to tell them, and I believe probably what happened either on back channels or in back rooms or just in general conversation. I believe it was, you need to meet these physical fitness goals. You have to set a good example for your soldiers, or else you're out. I'm sure it was said in a more roundabout and maybe less overt way than that, but I'm starting to buy into my own theory that was the entire purpose of that address to the generals the other day, that this was really just laying the groundwork for getting a lot of the riffraff and dead weight out of the United States military, upper echelons. The ones who are getting in the way of actually implementing the change and mandate that President Trump was elected to ensure. That's my theory anyway. Michael says, what recommendations do you have for parachurch organizations for men? Currently searching for a new church due to refusal to engage political issues, but most, maybe all in my area are the same way, so looking for other ways to find men who want to do the faith. Michael, I'm sorry, but there really are none. So, Michael, guess what? It's you. You are the parachurch organization. You really are. Now, if you're a new believer, I would say find a man, a real man in your church, whatever church you end up with, who is maybe like-minded, who can shepherd you and mentor you. But if you're already established in your faith and you're trying to find a parachurch organization geared for men who want to do the faith, as you so aptly put it, guess what? You're the parachurch organization. And it's up to you to find those men in your church who want to do the faith. So I'm sure there are some organizations that might fit the bill, but none off the top of my head. And that's by and large why we're in this situation to begin with the church and the lack of engagement with the men. So, Michael, I didn't mean that to depress you. I didn't mean that to discourage you. I meant that to challenge you and to actually encourage you to put in the work. Because obviously, you know what time it is. And it's time for you to find other guys who know what time it is, or maybe wake other guys up to what time it is indeed. Schultz says, partially formed thought or question. The reason why no human eschatological view will win the argument is that no one knows the day or the hour. This has been elevated from interesting to imperative, possibly to our detriment. Can eschatology be an idol? Uh-oh, Schultz, you're not supposed to say any of that. Especially the first and last part. You're not supposed to remind anybody, regardless of their eschatological persuasion, you're not supposed to remind them that nobody knows the day or hour. And you're not supposed to say that eschatology can be an idol. You're not supposed to say that. Why come you don't got a tattoo, bro? Yeah, you're right on the money. This is why I'm open-handed, dispy, for sake of unity with my own local body. But my pastor also preaches very boldly that no man knows the day or hour, so the hour is near. Let's just assume the hour is near and get to work evangelizing and discipling. And I think that message, at least from the dispy side of the camp, that message is missing from a lot of pulpits who engage in that kind of eschatology. So I appreciate my pastor in that manner. From the other side of the looking glass, yes. From the other side of this argument, the post or amillennialist side, yeah, that's an idol as well, because we have superior theology, and maybe you do. And I would I would grant that there are far, 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 far fewer hoops to jump through theologically and doctrinally when it comes to post or a-mill eschatology than when it comes to disp pre-mill. But there's definitely an idolatry factor there as well. So, Schultz, you're not supposed to say any of that. Stop it. Country Squire says, when the hostile environment you created comes back to haunt you, the LGBTQ Pride Fest planned this weekend for Knoxville, Tennessee, has been canceled due to the group being unable to obtain liability insurance. Too high a risk. Well, Country Squire, thanks for informing us of this. The Knoxville, the boomerang on that is a son of a gun, is it not? So they were unable to file for insurance because liability insurance was just too costly for this LGBTQ Pride Fest. Why is it taking place in October? Who knows? In Knoxville, Tennessee. And so they had to cancel. Well. How the turntables. Mama says, this is sort of frivolous, but would you cook these pumpkin spiced ribs for my boss at the day job? The answer is no, I would not. James says, do you think the Bible's teaching on national borders and distinct cultures from Babel to God-fixing boundaries in Deuteronomy and Acts speaks directly to America's immigration crisis? In terms of borders being a biblical concept, yes. In terms of our exact circumstances, no. Not necessarily, maybe. Because with our exact circumstances, we live in a different day and age than they did back then. If you didn't enforce borders back then, that just meant that you were conquered in the blink of an eye, relatively speaking. I guess you could say the same thing about our day and age, but it's a much slower transition. You know, the United States, regardless of how you cut it, there's 100 million or hundreds of millions of people here. How many are actually here legally? How many are here not on visas, here not illegally, or actually here, born here, their parents were born here? I don't know the answer to that question. So however you want to slice this, it's a different beast. The replacement, the conquering is slower. Like a spill at the molasses factory, a very slow-moving ecological disaster. And the reasons why borders are not enforced is much different, at least in my thinking, than it was back in Bible times. But the concept of having a border, which kind of is the only thing that matters, I do believe is a biblical concept. Jim says, how likely do you think it is the GOP will capitulate to the Democrats, approve about $100 or $800 billion of their $1 trillion list of demands, and tout it as a massive win for the American people? Well, as of this morning, we're on day 3 of the shutdown, so they better not give in 1 inch. Like I said, I just want to find out, can we survive without the government? There are the breathless headlines in recent days of 750,000 employees, federal employees furloughed, 1.5 million to be furloughed tomorrow. I want to see if we can survive with all of that. Cole says, after our brother Vodi Bakham's death, you urged people to take that step of leadership if they are feeling the call. Will we ever see a congressman, governor, or President McIntire? What are your thoughts about being in government role, pastoral, or maybe superintendent? Well, I would not rule out a local leadership role at all for myself. And what I mean when I'm talking about leadership, I mean just the basic leadership. Leadership in your home. Leadership in your small group at church. Leadership in your church. Doesn't have to be a public government, but since you asked, I could see myself running for city or school board or even mayor someday. I don't think necessarily, I don't know. I don't think I'm as far away as I think I am from one of those former positions, either city council or school board. That's something that I've been kicking around in my mind for a while now, even though we intend to homeschool our kids. In fact, to me, that's all the more reason to. So I don't think I'm as far removed from that. Maybe 4 to 5 years away, if even that. Let's go to this. Sweet Mostly Salty says, does the Bible give direction on how to discern the second coming from aliens, fake aliens, holograms, corrupt governments, faking the second coming to gain control, etc., etc.? Also, is there a book, Bible study type book that would recommend for educating oneself on Revelation? I would just, instead of a singular book, if at all possible. Some of these are available online. I'm sure if you have a church library, you've got different commentaries, biblical, Bible studies. I would just read different translations and different commentaries. I've got the ESV Study Bible. I've got the MacArthur Study Bible. I've got things of that nature. And I would just read through MacArthur's. I think Sproul has done a study Bible as well. Read through different, eschatological perspectives on the book of Revelation and the book of Daniel as well, by the way. At least the second half of the book of Daniel. So that would be my recommendation. So not one singular book. Now, for the first part of your question, does the Bible give direction on how to discern the second coming from aliens, fake aliens, holograms, corrupt governments faking the second coming to gain control? Well, yeah. And Jesus himself says, by your fruit, you will know them. By your fruit, you will know them. You will know that they are followers, real followers, redeemed. They're redeemed by their fruit. If they come with a silver tongue saying sweet nothings into your ear, and yes, they sound very good. They sound very sound theologically and doctrinally. But if you take a closer look and their fruit is rotten, then you'll know that's not truly of Christ. So it's just discernment. The Bible talks a lot about discernment. The word discriminating has taken on a terrible meaning in our day and age. It's not really. Discriminating should be and used to be a positive connotation. That was a compliment that you would pay to somebody. I think we all need to be a lot more discriminating. And I hope that answers your question. I hope you had a good time listening to the AM Update this week. Finally, tomorrow, Bella and I are back with No Suck Saturday. 5 stories we think objectively don't suck, as well as the return of Ask Izzy. It's coming up tomorrow. We'll be back on Sunday with Week in Review and all new episodes next week on the AM Update. Thank you again for listening. See you again tomorrow. If not tomorrow, then on Monday.